impressive resume. So, I was born in Virginia Beach, home of Mount Trashmore, the Blue Angels. I was born in 1975, which makes me 39 years old. And most people my age probably have a career, a car, 2.5 kids, an ex-wife. They're saving up for a Corvette, so for that impending midlife crisis. Well, since I don't have any of those things for my midlife crisis, I'm doing Testify. Yeah. So, my story starts in 1980. My family moved to Houston, Texas during the oil and gas boom, which was great because my dad was an exec for ExxonMobil, which meant we had a 2.5 car garage, 2-story house, two cats, and the whole nine. We lived in a nice neighborhood. And like I said, it was in the 80s, so that was a time when asbestos was still in schools, lead was still in paint, and I was able to run around the street in my Flash Gordon underoos. But like any self-respecting 5-year-old, I wanted to be like my dad. He was cool. I mean, he was, like I said, we were middle class. He had the Izods that would pop, the Doc shoes, the glasses that looked like Run DMC. He had a car that talked, like, not Kit, but it was like the 1980 Datsun Maxima. You remember that? It said, "Your door is ajar." That's all it said. Confused me for a very long time. Anyway, the coolest thing about my dad was the way he smelled. He smelled like a man. I mean, when you'd walk into this, is like a couple years before he started wearing Jacquard, he was still wearing Old Spice. You remember the green Old Spice bottle? And I always thought that's what a man smells like. So I, in my infinite wisdom, say, I want to smell like that. I'm going to go to kindergarten and first day, smelling like a man. I'm not sure. So I go into his bathroom, and I find that bottle, I grab it, and I chug it. Yes, in hindsight, while I'm puking up my SpaghettiOs with meatball and Old Spice, I realized that everything that smells good isn't going to taste good. So anyway, I was also a snooper. I used to snoop a lot. I love snooping. Like, anything in the house, I knew where it was at. I mean, if they hid the Oreos, I was eating Oreos. So one time on my snooping adventures, I would go into my mom's bathroom this time, and underneath her sink, I found a Dob kit. You know those kits with your razor, and you go camping, you keep it in? Yeah, okay. Well, I found that, and what I found is what I now know to be my mom's vibrator. I mean, it wasn't obvious. It's not like one of those King Kong ding-dongs with the pearls in it that got the little bunny ears that vibrate the clit. No, this was a 1980s Sears and Roebuck version. It was like a peach torpedo, This thing was cooler than any of the GoBots I had in my room. So I turned that sucker on. I had a good imagination. It was popping on the toilet, or on the counter. Like, oh, it's an earthquake, run. Fill the sink up with water. Oh, tsunami, Japan, watch out. So you remember those box fans, and you would talk into them as a kid, and you would sound like Darth Vader? How cool was that? So my bright idea was, if I had this thing full blast, get that thing going. Oh, your Luke, oh, your father. In hindsight, I learned not to snoop through other people's shit. Well, you might not like what you find. It tasted like shit. Anyway, just kidding. I don't remember what it tasted like. Anyways. I always take things too literally too. Like if we were going to the beach and I told you I had to pee, and you said, well, we're at the beach, why don't you just go pee in the ocean? I would have walked up to the edge of the water, dropped my pants, and pissed in the ocean. So I was about 8 years old, and my Uncle Dale comes to visit. And I'd never met him. He's like my mom's second cousin or something, up from Arkansas. And he's just exactly what you think an Uncle Dale would look like. He's about 100 pounds overweight, the overalls, the white shirt with the stains, John Deere hat. He said, Brian, we're going fishing. I thought, I'd never been fishing before. I thought this was cool. So we went to a little pond out by the house in the neighborhood I lived in. And he was fishing for catfish, so he put the cheese and liver on a treble hook and casted that out. And he gave me this like My Little Pony or something, little rod that just came out like that, you know. He gave me a piece of white bread that I had to squish up and put on the end of the hook. I didn't know what I was doing. Throw that sucker out, get that little bobber out there. About 8 seconds into it, I caught Jaws. This thing was rad, dude. Start pulling that thing in, and I get it in, and it's a perch about that big. But I was so happy with it. I mean, as soon as I could get Uncle Dale to get it off the hook, I took that thing and ran all the way home. I was like, I'm gonna feed the family. I'm the man of the house. I got this. All right, Mom, look, I got a fish. And you're like, oh, that's great, son. Well, you know you have to clean that fish before we can cook it. I was like, that, no problem. About 10 minutes later, she finds me in the bathtub with a thing of dial soap, scrubbing this fish. And in hindsight, I learned that fish does not taste good with garlic butter and dial. Also, don't take everything people say at face value. So about the fourth year of second grade, or the second year of fourth grade, I told you I'm about as sharp as a bowling ball. Second year of fourth grade, it was my second year. Folks got divorced, you know, sad times. There were some good things and bad things about them getting divorced. The bad things, well, I had a new step monster that I hated. Ugh, I hated that woman. But it was my dad's secretary. It was the 80s, right? I mean, it was and, but the good thing is they gave me my beautiful half-sister. She's my full sister, all blood, just the most beautiful human being ever. And I got to spend more time with my mom. I got to go see my dad every other weekend, and on Wednesdays we could go to Chili's and have an old timer with cheese, about 8 Cokes. So one of these times over at my dad's house on these every other weekends, he lived in an apartment. He still hadn't married her, but he went out to go do errands or whatever it is he did, and he left me in the apartment by myself. And I didn't learn my lesson from snooping, because I went snooping some more. And I found in his closet the holy grail of snooping. It was about 40 porno mags. I mean, everything from Penthouse, Playboy, Hustler, Jugs, the whole nine. It was great. So I think I've got a plan. I take 4 of the magazines, put them in my book bag, and take them to school. Now, in my school in 4th grade, lunch was 90 cents, and every parent gave their kid $1, which meant there was 10 cents left over for me. Because I would sell them a page out of each magazine for 10 cents. I was like the elementary school Pablo Escobar of porn. So, I sold these pages. I had like $3 a day. I was banking. Until it all came crashing down. Now, we had this music teacher. We had music class in 4th grade. His name was Mr. Smith, we'll say. I don't remember his name. But he was bald. He looked like a music teacher, you know? And one day, we're in there playing hot cross buns, rocking it. And this guy, he loved Garfield cartoons. He would always pin them up. And I had sold a page to Mr. Timmy, little Timmy, whatever his name was. And I sold him the cartoon page from Hustler. You know which one I'm talking about? You know, it's all cartoons. So Mr. Smith thought it was a Garfield cartoon and picked it up. And on the way to the principal's office, we were trying to figure out what was going to happen to us. And the principal was named Miss Reynolds. I remember that name because she called my mom and was like, "Do you know what this is doing to your son?" And she blamed her, which I thought was weird. You know, I didn't steal her Hustler magazine. Maybe, I don't know. But, and we got swatted, 3 swats, you know, those big metal things, they did that then. But this sadistic bitch put holes in the fucking thing. So when it swatted, it didn't have any wind resistance, just, yeah, anyway, it hurt. 3 swats. In hindsight, I learned I should have gone into porn. Sex sells, you know, but more than that, you know, I learned about myself being a man doing this and looking back on stories, and I might not have turned into the man that, you know, people might have thought I would, but I turned into one that I really like, and after this midlife crisis, I hope to spend the second half of my childhood making just as many stupid mistakes and having just as much fun and learning about myself. And I bought a shirt when I was 16 and said, "Never too late to have a happy childhood." And that always stuck with me, and that's the way I'm gonna go from now. And like I said, I got a dog, a beautiful fiance, and a gas-powered bike, and I'm loving every second of it. Thanks. Congratulations, I am here.